rise and in the jungle we unite and tripping orange and black and white. All day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Now who got 'em, who rockin' on? Now who wanna move crossing on? Now who wanna move out on? If you got stripes, then you let the city know you rock 'em. Yeah, we got 'em, yeah, we fought 'em. Like that black and orange up on 'em. Single bottle, never stop it. To the beast of Eastern know 'em. Who they rockin' with the diamond stripes, flossing on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen. We gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite and
Welcome to Bengals and Brews. I am Del Altman, joined by my co-host, BSG, Greg Luther. What's up, buddy?
Dude, those of you out there right now, go get yourself some Greater Skyline. I was so against it completely at first, but man, everybody kept tweeting about it on Instagram, Facebook. I got peer pressured in, and I can confirm it's awesome. It's a little cinnamon taste with the oyster crackers. It's awesome, man. Go get it completely.
Yeah. You got a little static, Greg. I don't know if you need to click a button. It's not bad, but it's just a little bit, so figured I'd let you know.
I got to always change that. Sorry about I always got to remind myself this.
No worries. Tanner McLaughlin season, Chris says. Darce says tight end Tuesday and a hooday to Tony T-Bowles Industries. Shout out to everybody in the brew crew in the chat. Appreciate you. Yeah, free advertisement too. They get one. You can't talk about it no more. That's all you get.
Only one. Can't do it no more.
One free shout out. And Drew sample time yet again. And Tina just says a lot of emojis that are curse words. That emoji. So for anyone who hasn't heard the news, Erick All is likely or pretty much out for the 2025 season. He's got to have a second surgery since he tore his ACL. It's the same ACL that he tore the year before in college at Iowa. And before that, he was at Michigan and had a back surgery. So it was my biggest fear when we drafted him. Seems like a great kid, hell of a tight end talent on the field. I mean, he can catch, he can block, he can do a little bit of everything. I like how they put him in motion, and then he just knocked the shit out of somebody coming around to start a play. It sucks. It sucks for him more than anything. We're obviously going to talk about where do the Bengals go from here. But first and foremost is just thoughts and prayers with him. I mean, that's got to be mentally draining for all he's been through his life, through the injuries, as he's gotten older in his football career. Just brutal news for him as Greg eats his ice cream. Any thoughts, Greg, just to begin?
No, dude. I mean, when you learn about Erick All, just such a good person he is. I mean, like you say, how he's come up through life and all that, how many injuries he's battled, and he still keeps pushing. I mean, your heart just goes out to him. You're hoping for a speedy recovery. You hope he can bounce back once again. I mean, that dude's just a very, very, very tough person, very tough human being. Just breaks your heart for him completely.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not going to write off that he'll never come back, but already being out all of next season, that's just brutal. And, you used 4th round draft capital on him. And obviously our thoughts are with him first and foremost, but that was the big concern. That's why I had him around lower, but it wasn't because of talent. You could see the talent when he's out there playing. It's just you worry about the injuries.
Well, you look at we normally don't play rookies that much. We were giving the ball to him a lot on crucial situations too, man. We had a lot of trust in him on blocking assignments, everything. We definitely had very high hopes for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you can't completely rule out like a Tyler Warren now in the first round. It's not the direction I want to go, but at the same point in time, that's a position that we were like, man, we got to get this position fixed. And now here we are almost back to square one from our thoughts from last year, because we drafted 2 guys, but we saw absolutely nothing out of Tanner McLaughlin last year. He was never active in a game, and he's getting ready to turn 26 years old in March. So we got a guy who's turning 26 that we haven't seen play a down of football in the actual NFL. That is our 6th round draft pick from last year. And then Erick All is out for the season, our 4th round draft pick from last year. Jermaine Burton, our 3rd round pick from last year at wide receiver. Cannot rely on him at all. I mean, can't rely on him to even be on an NFL team at this point with some of the things that seem like they're going on with his life. So our tight end room gets real thin, real quick. Beyond McLaughlin, who we don't know what we have, people under contract are, besides McLaughlin, are only Drew Sample, who's 28. The GOAT Drew Sample. He's a hell of a blocker. He can give you something in the pass game, but not much. His role is as a blocker. He's a good tight end 2, tight end 3. He knows his role in 12 personnel. He's going to be in there blocking his booty off. Cam Grandy, we re-signed him. Makes sense. 24 years old. Another guy. I still look at him as more of a blocker, but maybe there's some untapped potential as a receiving tight end. And another year with Joe Burrow. Hey, we'll see. Maybe we got something in Cam Grandy. I think he's got a hell of a chance to make the roster based on looking at the depth chart right now. Drew Sample, Cam Grandy, and Tanner McLaughlin. Cam Grandy's looking like potential tight end 1 as of this moment. Still free agency, still the draft to go. We'll talk about some of those people. And to kick off free agency, you got to think about Mike Gesicki. Yeah, he's basically a wide receiver, but he's a tight end. And you've got the blockers. You've got Cam Grandy. You've got Drew Sample. Maybe you bring back Tanner Hudson, who's 30 years old. Gesicki's 29. Tanner McLaughlin, I think he can catch the ball. He broke a lot of Gronk's records as a receiving tight end at Arizona. So I think there is something there with McLaughlin. You got to see it on the field. But if you bring back Gesicki and you've got – I just feel a lot better if we bring back Gesicki. It's going to be – I don't care that he splits out wide. I just think we need him. We need his pass-catching ability. Then I feel good I got Drew Sample and Cam Grandy as the blockers. And if I'm rounding out a 4th tight end before even touching the draft, if Gesicki comes back, I feel good. I personally feel good because I like Tanner McLaughlin coming out, even though he's almost 26 years old. So those 4 are not the worst thing in the world, and maybe Hudson is back. So you don't have to panic and go, oh, we're taking a first-round tight end. But at the same point in time, I think Mike Gesicki's price tag only goes up. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it does. Dale, that was the first thing that came to my mind, especially after seeing the free agency list. I mean, he's going to be like, hey, instead of $6 million, I want to go 7 or 8. I want to go $10 million a year. Somebody would give him $10 million a year. I could see a team going out there right now saying, we'll give you 2 or 3 years, $10 million. It wouldn't surprise me. That may be a little too high, but with the free agency tight ends and him saying, his agent's going to be like, look, you guys lost Erick All for the year. I'm sorry. You guys need me back. You guys need Gesicki back more than ever. I mean, he has all the levers in the world. Gesicki does. Then what's going to come down to is how badly he still wants to stay here, at what price.
Yeah. And Derek, what's your thoughts? We talked about Erick All being out. It looks like for all of 2025, got Drew Sample, Cam Grandy under contract, and then Tanner McLaughlin we haven't seen anything from. But just looking at the depth chart of it, and I'll just mention the free agent class before I get your thoughts. The other free agents, like per PFF, their number 1 guy on the board is Juwan Johnson. He's also 28 from the Saints. So Gesicki's only a year older than him. Zach Ertz, 34 years old, was with the Commanders this year. Had a good season, but he's 34. Tyler Conklin from the Jets, 29 years old. And then you get down to like Austin Hooper, Irv Smith, Hayden Hurst. You know what I mean? You're down into – so – Mike Gesicki is the second highest on the top 100 list for PFF's free agents as far as tight ends behind Juwan Johnson. And he's been here. He's got chemistry with Joe. I think it's imperative we get Gesicki back. But what are your thoughts, Derek? Even though he's a wide receiver, he's still a tight end too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Juwan Johnson's bad or anything. He had a productive year in New Orleans, but yeah, as far as like needing the production at tight end, I don't see any other option unless you hit the free agency or the draft route. Like, and we say this every year. You don't want to go into the draft needing a position. So, in my opinion, would I give him the bag? No. But like you guys said, if somebody's wanting to offer him freaking, what is it we say on tight ends? $8 million a year.
Yeah, 8 to 10. I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I want it 6, 7. I think I could work something out, knowing how the receiving production he puts up in this offense.
Right. I mean, and if you want to look at it that way, because he's basically a receiver, pay him what every other wide receiver 3 will get you, or what wide receiver 4, that area, what they're making.
Yeah.
And that's around $5 to $6 million a year.
Yeah, and that's what I'd be comfortable bringing him back at. If we could get him for 5 or 6, I say let's go, and give him
Yeah.
a 2-year deal, give him a third year with a
3
team
years,
option.
15 million.
Yeah, and the
Three
third
wi-
one's a team
Yeah.
option.
Yeah.
And put some incentives in there that he can hit. Maybe it's I don't know. We'll just say maybe it's 3 years, 21 million, so that gets it up to 7 per. But it's the escalators are team success Super Bowl, because I don't care
Yeah.
to give guys $1 million extra dollars if we made it to the Super Bowl or won the Super Bowl. 500
Right.
if we made it. 500,000 more if we win it. That's your incentive,
Yeah.
baby.
Yep. But
Um,
I'm of the thought that the Cam Grandy, like signing that guy, was kind of the writing on the wall with Erick All, and we just didn't see it, because why else would they be trying to get that guy signed to the contract that they signed him on if they weren't worried about the Erick All injury?
Yeah, and they might have knew that, but I think Grandy was a guy that they were always going to bring back, and where he's exclusive rights. It was just those are always the easiest ones for them to get done. We see them get those ones done early a lot, and he's only 24, and he's an undrafted guy, and he gave them something. Especially, I think he's got some untapped potential as a pass catcher.
Mhm.
But you know what you got as a blocker. He's a damn good blocker. So having that guy that you can develop even behind Drew Sample,
Yep.
is not a bad thing. But you definitely need the pass catcher, and that's why I think Gesicki makes a lot of sense. Those free agents certainly leave a lot to be desired. I mean, if you're going out on the free agent market, you might as well bring back the guy and that's Mike Gesicki.
Right.
Yep. Now, if you're wanting to go towards the rookie market, you got to get my guy, Gunnar Helm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We can talk some of the prospects, and everyone pretty much knows about Tyler Warren. I don't know. He had like 1,200 receiving yards. They put him in the backfield. He's thrown some passes at Penn State, but he's a dog as a blocker too. I think Daniel Jeremiah had him as like his 6th overall prospect in his top 50 that he put out today. So he thinks very highly of Tyler Warren. I got him around the same area where we pick, but it's not necessarily who I want at 17.
Yeah.
What you got, Greg?
I was just going to ask you guys, say if we had T. Higgins under contract, would you guys consider franchise tagging Mike Gesicki? Because I sure as hell would at this point. If I knew if Higgins was under contract, I would have franchise tagged Mike Gesicki in a heartbeat.
I don't even know what that costs for a tight end, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
It's usually the average of the top 5 salaries. I imagine that's a high amount. I don't think he would be. There's just not a lot of people putting a lot of franchise tags on people. And if you put on one, you're not necessarily putting it on a 29-year-old tight end who, he had a great season for us, but his last 2 years, he didn't do much of anything in New England.
Well, listen to this. Wide receiver. So wide receivers $21 million. I mean, their tight ends $12 million. So $12 million actually wouldn't be terrible.
Yeah, it wouldn't be terrible, but again, we're talking, why not just sign him 2 years, $12 million instead of giving him 12 for one? I think that is a reasonable contract, and I think if he wants to still produce and possibly compete for the playoffs and has that chemistry with Joe and can go out there and maybe he even earns a Pro Bowl next year with his second year with Burrow, I think it's just a perfect fit for him to come back here. So but we know somebody could give him a bag, but I don't even see 10, 12 million for a guy like that, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the absolute max that even another team offers him is like 8. So, but I think here you take 6 and we'll get escalators in there that can basically make it a 7-year deal, $7 million per year deal. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Honestly, a guy I would like, if you are looking to franchise somebody, I would be leaning more toward the guy like Osai. Try to get him for one more year and just go all in on this year.
Yeah, but I'd say defensive end, Greg. You can look that one up.
Defensive end, man, that's $21 million. That's $21 million. I don't know about that.
Yeah, there ain't no way in hell I give Osai $21 million for his
defensive end or
4 or 5 games.
You see, defensive end or linebacker?
He'd be an edge. There's no way they could.
Because for a linebacker, it's $24 million. Defensive end, it's $21 million.
Yeah. Nope. Pass.
Nope. Pass.
Sorry.
We can talk about some more guys in the draft. Loveland and Fannin, I think, are 2 more good tight ends. Loveland out of Michigan. They didn't have good quarterback play, but he still had 500-plus yards. Fannin obviously broke a record for receiving, and he's at the Senior Bowl, so I want to see something out of him. Him weighing in at 238 was a good number for him. Highly productive, coming out of Bowling Green. He still played well against Texas A&M and Penn State that Bowling Green played. So it's not like, oh, he didn't play nobody. Yeah, he did, and he looked like he still belonged. And if he does that again at the Senior Bowl, then that's a big statement for Harold Fannin. And maybe he's there at 49. You know, maybe a guy like Harold Fannin's in play at pick 49 because he showed something as a blocker. That was my biggest concern with him prior to this year, and he looked like a much better blocker this year.
Speaking of Loveland, Ohio is the location of Midwest Best Barbecue, proud sponsor of the show in Loveland, Ohio. So that'd be a perfect get right there where Midwest Best Barbecue is located. Also, along with the Chop Shop t-shirt, which I got this a week ago, proud sponsor of the show also.
There you go. Got it.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't wear the Chop Shop t-shirt.
You got your national champ shirt.
There you go, buddy.
And then your phone.
Yeah, it came in the mail today, so I had to.
The people on the internet are Notre Dame fans, Derek. They don't want to see that.
Yeah, me too, Wes. Just I think Cam Sample, Cam Sample is a guy I wouldn't mind bringing back, and I don't think he'll cost a lot because it's not like he's produced too much, and then he was injured all last year. So, yeah, and for an edge guy, for sure. Gadsden, is another. We'll get to more of these draft guys. So that's kind of the top tier to me, though, is those three. It's Warren, Loveland, and Fannin. I think most years they'd be tight end one. It just so happens they're all in a class with each other. So they're all pretty good tight ends. Don't necessarily want us to take one in the first 2 rounds, but, hey, you got to consider it as an option. Maybe Tyler Warren's the highest rated guy on their board, and they think he's a generational guy. And they just say, we're getting this done, and now we got him here with Burrow. And hopefully T's re-signed and Chase is re-signed, and you got a hell of a nucleus there along with Chase Brown on your offense if they go that route.
So tell me why you hate my guy, Dale. Because
I don't hate Gunnar Helm, but he's in the next tier. So I think there's 3 guys and almost a 4th guy in the next tier of tight ends for me. So that's and this is not necessarily in order because Elijah Arroyo from Miami's looking damn good, weighed in at 251, and he's moving phenomenal out there in the first day of Senior Bowl practices. So he's catching a lot of buzz, and it won't surprise me if he ends up as my 4 behind Harold Fannin. It really won't if he continues to impress this week because they were already kind of a tier, those 3 guys anyways. But Mason Taylor from LSU is another guy in there who's done a little bit of everything, played since he was a freshman, so 3-year producer at LSU, son of Jason Taylor, the Hall of Fame DN. And then Gunnar Helm had a great season for Texas. It was 1 year, but, yeah, he looked really good. I think he's a good, solid tight end prospect, and he can block, he can catch the ball, he can do a little everything. I think he had almost 700 yards this season. So I definitely think those 3 guys are all in play. I honestly, for me, and they might go higher than our 3rd round pick, but if one of them are there at our 3rd round pick, I'd feel much better about one of those guys in the 3rd round than I would any of them at like pick 49. If I'm taking a guy at pick 49, it better be Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, or Harold Fannin. And I don't think necessarily any of them will be there at 49. So it's one of those things.
Well, like, to go back what Derek said, you just don't want to go to the draft worried about, because we already have 6 picks. That's low enough already right there. And now you just don't want to go in the draft thinking, great, I got to go get a tight end now. That's one of the last things is we're already shorthanded as enough as it is with guards pretty much, interior defensive line or edge. I mean, you don't want to add another priority going in here.
Yeah, and Trevor's asking about guards. We did a show yesterday pretty much all on guards, free agent guards, some guys in the draft that are guards. So if you want to go back and check that one out. But I'm good with heavy on defense or guards, but now it's just, especially first round, when you're picking at 17, you can't rule out hardly anything. Maybe the highest guy on your board, safety. Maybe it's corner. Maybe it's a linebacker. Maybe now it's a tight end. So it's just, and if Higgins is gone, maybe it's a wide receiver. Right now, there's so many things before free agency happens. You don't want to just say, oh, it's this, or that. But for me, there's 3 clear top needs that I've said, and it's guard, D tackle, DN, and specifically pass rush at D tackle and DN are the top 3 needs. But you got plenty of other ones, and you never want to, as Greg mentioned, force anything at pick 17.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of that next tier, and all three of those guys are pretty solid. Then after that, I think Terrence Ferguson isn't too far off, and I've seen some buzz from him. He's a guy who's like 6'4", 6'5", 245 from Oregon, back-to-back seasons with almost 500 receiving yards. It's not a bad blocker, but he knows how to get open, make plays for his quarterback. So I don't think he's far behind the Arroyo, Taylor, and Gunnar Helm tier as well. And maybe he falls into the third, maybe fourth round, as we're starting to talk about some of these guys. And this is where I'd feel more comfortable with taking a tight end in general, is maybe you get another guy in the day 3. But Jake Brenningstool, he only weighed like 236, more of a pass catcher. So if you lose Gesicki, maybe you look at a guy like this to basically fill the exact role that Gesicki filled, as a big-bodied, tall white boy that can catch passes. That ain't gonna block for shit, though. So that's basically the Mike Gesicki role.
Yep.
And then Gadsden, who was brought up, he's been a receiver, but then he moved to listed as a tight end, but still basically played like a receiver at Syracuse. But he weighed in around 240, so he was listed at 220 earlier on in his career. So he's definitely looked to add some weight, because, I think he's clearly going to have to be a tight end in the NFL, and he knows that. So he's an interesting guy. Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame was coming off that ACL injury. He's about 6'5", 250, 255. So big son bitch, started playing better, as he got about a year removed from the ACL. He really picked it up, that year out in that second half of the season. And just a competitor. So they just got done playing in the national title, and he's already out there at the Shrine Bowl practicing like 3 or 4 days later. That says a lot about him.
He looked good against Ohio State, too.
Yeah, and the year before, he looked really good before his ACL injury when they played him. So any thoughts on any of those guys? I know you like Helm. Greg, you got any thoughts on anybody we've mentioned so far?
Arroyo, that was the one Devine was really high on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Arroyo, he's really rising up right now. So, what round did you – I'm sorry, Dale, what round did you have Arroyo in again?
I've got him as like a third-round guy, but honestly, I could see him making his way up to the second round. He's right in that tier with Taylor and Helm.
We picked him at 49. What would your reaction be?
If we picked him at 49? I'd be like, because he really only had the 1 year of production. It was a great breakout season, but, he didn't have more than he didn't ever have over 100 receiving yards in his career, and then this year he had like 500 and something.
Wow!
So he had a big breakout, and he looks good at the Senior Bowl, but it's still worrisome.
So he's a senior. Okay, go ahead.
I honestly wouldn't and I hate to just blanket statement this, but if we pick a tight end in the first 2 rounds, I'm going to be disappointed, I think.
Me too.
Even if it's one of those top guys, because I just feel like we have much larger needs.
Yeah. We'd have to really, really hammer a couple of guards and free agents. It just doesn't sound like a Bengal thing to do when you already got Trey, T, and Chase to take care of in free agency too. That by the time the draft rolls around, we'd also have them taken care of, 2 guards, a pass rushing D tackle, maybe a Milton Williams, crazy money on, and an edge to pair with Trey. It's hard to believe we've got all that filled.
Well, Derek, let me ask you this. Say if this tight end is going to put up Brock Bauer numbers his rookie year. No, I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just asking you. You knew one of these tight ends, round 1 or 2, was going to put up Brock Bauer numbers.
I don't really see any of these guys as a Brock Bauer, so it's a problem.
Yeah, as much as I like Tyler Warren, I agree. I have Brock Bowers as a top 5 prospect in last year's class.
Yeah,
if you were to tell me that we've got a Brock Bowers level guy, man, I still don't know that I would do it though, because you're not Chase is going to get the majority of the targets in this offense. T, if he comes back, is going to be the number 2 guy, and I'm okay if they were to say, hey, Brock Bowers is returning to the draft. We've got this guy, and it's the I can't think of his name now. The first guy. And is it Tyler Warren? Is that
Tyler Warren's my number 1,
Tyler
but
Warren.
Loveland and Fannin, any of those 3.
Yeah, if you were to say one of those guys is the identical Brock Bowers, this is what he's going to be, and we're getting like we weren't able to get a deal done with T, then I could potentially look into that and say, okay, we're going to change our offense up. We're going to go more 2 tight end sets.
Well, I will say, gridiron grading comparison for Harold Fannin was Brock Bowers, which I thought was blasphemy, honestly.
Ooh, yeah.
Whoa.
But I mean, their gridiron grading and the stuff, the stuff they put in with PFF and the advanced analytics and everything, that's their comparison for him.
Yeah, all right, let me ask you guys this. This was talked about. I said hell no, but I kind of warmed up to it, but I'm really warming up to it now, potentially. Would you look into trading for Kyle Pitts? All right, and say if the Falcons, I can't believe they would do 6 or 7. Would you trade a 5th rounder for Kyle Pitts if you lost Gesicki?
A 5th rounder? I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I would.
How old is Kyle Pitts now?
Hold on.
While Greg's looking that up, I wouldn't be opposed to it either. I think
24. He's only 24 years
24. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of these tight ends coming in the draft now are
25.
They're yeah.
Well, Tanner McLaughlin's getting ready to turn 26 in March.
Yeah.
So.
And Kyle Pitts
is 24, and he's he would have Joe Burrow throwing him the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at his quarterback situation. I think he's like, I've never had really a good quarterback. Sorry about Kirk Cousins. Sorry, I'm not insulting Kirk Cousins. I'm just saying he put up 800 yards, but I'm just saying, can you imagine what he put up with Joe Burrow? I think he's a better tight. You could argue he's a better tight end than Gesicki, almost just because how younger he is.
With Joe Burrow, you know what he would put up? What? About 700-800 yards. That's just what our tight ends do.
Right, exactly.
I mean, you would talk about a 1-to-1 equivalent, maybe a little better red zone threat than Mike Gesicki. But then you'd have to, I mean, he's got one more year left on his deal? So then you'd have to look to pay him, and then are we going to pay a tight end top money? I don't.
Yeah, he's not going to take a discount. I can tell you that at 24 years, he's going to want that big contract because Gesicki, he's kind of had those big, well, not super big, but he's had those contracts. So
yeah, if you're trading a 5th round pick for the guy, that you have to. I would think you would have to have a deal in place to where, okay, we're going to extend you. Here's what we're going to do, because they don't pay those guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I guess if you were getting him for a 1-year rental while you're still trying to figure stuff out and you're only giving up a 5th or 6th, that would be the, without having the contract done. And then you hope, maybe he likes it here and you can get something done. But if he balls out in that year, it's a tough situation. But it might be a year, hey, we know Erick All's going to be out, all the next season. Yep. Maybe he comes back the following year. So a Kyle Pitts 1-year rental, if you lost Gesicki, is way better than anything you're going to get definitely on the free agent market.
And plus, you're in a win now. You're in a win now mode. You're trying to win right now. You got to go all in. I mean, like I say, 1-year rental, but hey, that's what sometimes you got to take that gamble sometimes.
Yeah, and for me, it's like, okay, well, now we only have 6 picks, so now we're down to 5. Who gives a shit? Number one. Number 2, it's a 5th rounder or a 6th rounder. You're not going to find a better player than Kyle Pitts if that's all you got to give up for him. And then also, I lost complete train of thought on that one. No, I just think it makes. Oh, you can trade down, is what I was going to say, and recoup some picks. I still think a trade down at 17 is something that we could see because we're going to accumulate more picks. We've traded down the 2nd round a lot. We could trade down the 2nd round and pick up a couple more picks. We've traded down before in the 2nd round and picked up like a 3rd and a 4th.
Right, exactly. Dale,
traded down.
Derek was even said that yesterday when you showed us like all these great prospects. I'm like, well, holy shit, man! If we trade down to 25, there's going to be a good pick there. So you really got to so say if you trade from like 17 to 25, just randomly saying that's like an extra 3rd round pick there, right?
At least,
yeah.
And maybe you get a team toss in a 5th rounder. And then boom, there's your 5th rounder that you spent on Kyle Pitts. You got it back. You got it back plus a 3rd rounder. Now you're at 7 picks.
Dude, sign me up for that, buddy. I'd be all over that.
Just say it. There's ways to recoup your picks, even if you make another trade. So,
Right. Exactly.
And some teams, I've seen some teams only have like 8 or 9. I think it was Jim Nagy said this. He's talking to some of the scouts down there at the Senior Bowl. Some of them said they only have 8 or 9 first-round prospects on their board. So if you only got 8 or 9 and all 8 or 9 guys go before you pick at 17, let's just say the Bengals are one of those teams that only feel 8 or 9 guys are worth the first-round pick. Why the hell wouldn't you trade down from 17 to 25 or late first round? I don't think you want to trade out of the first round. You still want to
No. You want that fifth-year option. I always say you want that fifth-year option. So, Derek, because I was referring to something you said yesterday, we were talking about trading down from 17 to 25 or whatever, and you think about it, say if you trade down, you could get an extra third and a fifth, and like you said, you were saying this a day or two ago, looking at all these great prospects, you'd be ridiculous not to think about trading down. Say if you trade
it seems like every time I do a mock draft and I'm looking at the players available, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind trading down a few picks and picking up an extra third, fourth, fifth round pick.
Well, exactly. So say if you trade a fifth round for Kyle Pitts, you trade down, you get a third and a fifth. You get your fifth round pick back pretty much for Kyle Pitts. And guess what? You get an extra third round. Okay, Derek's gone.
I don't know what's going on with Derek. He's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. But yeah, and then there's like Luke Lachey, Bryson Nesbitt. A late round guy that people have talked about is like Brant Kuth from Utah. He's a 7th-year guy. He's been hurt like 4 or 5 different years. What's up, Kevin?
Stop. Rewind. You said Lachey. Is that a coincidence right there?
Well, his dad is actually
guys.
Well, he's the Iowa tight end for this year. He hasn't had huge production. But yeah, those tight ends tend to pan out. His dad was Jim Lachey, a 3-time All-Pro offensive lineman, and his dad played for the Ohio State Buckeyes and still calls games for the Buckeyes on the radio. So he is not Nick Lachey relative that I know of, but his dad, Jim Lachey, good NFL bloodlines there for Luke. But he wanted to go to Iowa and Ohio State. I don't know that they offered him like a preferred walk-on, so he went to Iowa on scholarship, and you can never go wrong being a tight end and going to Iowa. Tends to work out well.
I looked him up.
NFL.
There's no relation to Lachey's. Gosh, I was close. It could have been close. He could have been number 98 on the team or something. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So there's some options. There's some options. We talked about Pitts and the trade route. We talked about free agency just mainly. You hope that they get back Gesicki, but I wouldn't rule out a Jawan Johnson or a Tyler Conklin. Tyler Conklin, somebody I've been interested in for a long time.
Conklin, no, we tried to get him out of Minnesota. Then we settled for the other tight end and Irv Smith Jr. But yeah, I remember the Bengals tried. Remember we tried to get Conklin, but that's when New York just stocked up on tight ends that one year.
Yeah, they had like 4 on their roster.
Yeah, Uzama, Conklin. Who's the Ohio State? That I wanted that.
Jeremy Ruckert, who hasn't done anything to this point, really. But
he would have been intrigued. Yeah, they had like 4 or 5 tight ends on the team. Who was the guy? I know I said his name wrong, and I don't want to get in trouble. Zach, big tall guy. Kuntz, I think is.
Kuntz. Yeah, you called him.
I said it in a very wrong way that they could have got me in big trouble. So yeah.
Yeah, and I agree, Sindusters. I think they might be more likely to pick a guard if it's later in the first than at 17. But Tyler Booker from Alabama, if he's there at 17, I think Mimbow, I'm going to move him back to tackle, coming out with the 34-inch arms and everything. I think he sticks at tackle, and I think he's a top 15 pick. So Tyler Booker is going to be my guard 1 again, just moving Mimbow back to tackle. And I think he's worthy of pick 17. Daniel Jeremiah, I think, had him, in that top 17 range on his overall top 50.
And to point out also today at the Senior Bowl, I know people are making fun of this because we have a small scouting staff, but hey, Duke Tobin keeping a close eye on the interior defensive linemen. So you're happy to see that, right?
Yeah, because I think we need that. And that's not mentioned here, but I was going to toss that in from Tyler. He said, rank these in what's most important: guard, edge rusher, a tight end, or I would toss in an interior defensive pass rusher just as much as an edge rusher. I think either one of those are kind of interchangeable if you get the right guy. If you get a Walter Nolan, just as valuable as getting a Mike Green, an Ezerike, Aeneas Peebles, who's balling out, 6 foot, 289, little Geno Atkins, right, Greg?
Yeah, there you go. All right, this is how I'd rank it: interior defensive lineman, guard, pass rusher, and tight end.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm probably with that. I'm probably with that same order. Guard, edge rusher, interior D line, and tight end. Derek, how would you rank them?
Probably that order right there.
See, I think me and Greg, I think, are on the same page with interior D line, and then honestly flip a coin between pass rusher. I just almost put interior D line and pass rusher together because I think if you get one more really, really good pass rusher, whether it's an interior guy or an edge to pair with Trey Hendrickson, I think that would help the pass rush so much. So I almost put both of those together and then guard, then tight end. But guard's very important. We need 2 of them is the thing.
Right.
We went through that list of players yesterday, so hopefully we pick up at least one of those guys in free agency at minimum.
Yeah, my whole thought is like if going into free agency is the way I'm looking at it, not like going into the draft, because obviously we don't know what we've done yet. So the way I look at it is, what's your most valuable asset on the team, and what's the thing we've had issue, and that's the other than pass rush, obviously, but it's been keeping Joe healthy and keeping Joe upright. And the most of the time it's been because of the guards. So the way I look at it is keeping Joe healthy is the most important thing to me. And in order to do that, we need to get good guard play.
Yeah, and M says the same thing. O-line first, in my opinion, for that same reason. We're not going anywhere if Joe keeps getting hit 100 times, sacked 70 times. We lose Joe, and we're not going to ever win. I understand that train of thought, but I also look at just what he's able to do last year with 2 of the most bum-ass guards in the entire league, that you can upgrade both of those spots still without taking a guard at 17. And what killed us most of the season was we couldn't get any pass rush, and the defense couldn't get off the field when we needed it. So, I don't know. And maybe it's short-sighted because you're right, because Joe the other years was hurt. But we got the center. We got both tackles. Just get some competent guard. No donkeys, right? No donkeys at guard. And I think you can get a good guard in the 3rd or 4th round. I think you can get, as we did the show yesterday, you can get a good free agent. Might have been 6th, 7th, 8th guy. Might be Patrick McCarry from the Ravens that we talked about. You can get that guy, plug and play at left guard. Plug and play him at left guard, and then you can find you a right guard in round 3. I just say I think you can, and then you get your interior pass rusher in the 1st round.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you're saying. But like I said, the way I'm looking at it is, until we know what they've done in free agency, that is my needs right now. So, and if for some ungodly reason we don't pick up a guard in free agency, that's going to stay at 17. I'm going to say we've got to get somebody to protect Joe.
That's fair, because I was just going to say that's fair, because if we haven't taken any free agent guard, you probably need one at 17, and then you need to hit on another one in the 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's fair.
But yeah, if we're talking strictly draft and what we think is going to happen going into the draft, then I could see your guys' side of things, like saying, okay, we've already got a guard in free agency, so at 17, I would look to improve the defense. Get an Al Golden guy.
If we don't get at least one guard, honestly, by the time we're doing that show March 15th at Midwest Best on that Saturday after free agency started that week,
that'll be
it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty.
But Dale, would you still be in a good mood if you were eating the ribs?
I mean, the ribs, the Grippo boneless wings, ain't nothing going to – I love you, Midwest, and I love your food, but there ain't nothing in this world that can cure how pissed off I'm going to be if we have not signed at least one competent level, at least on paper, because you never know till you get them here, at least one competent guard in free agency.
We'll be singing at the beginning of that show.
I'll be
Diesel Dale is on fire.
Fire. Still, though, the food will make us all happy, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, Chris. You know, we can look back at just last year. You know, we can look at that 3rd and 4th round. We can look at that Jermaine Burton pick. We can look at Erick All with an injury. I understand it wasn't an awful pick, but the injury just felt around too high, at least where he was on my board. And how good the guard class was, and how you completely just ignored it. No reason to count on Volson. No reason that they didn't see Kappa had regressed some the year before, and then obviously a huge regression this year.
Yep.
That is criminal. And it did get people fired, actually. It's not just borderline fireable, Chris. It was actually fireable, and it got Frank Pollock fired.
And that right there is what makes me think that they're going to change things up this year. Because, in my opinion, I think Frank Pollock said, these guys had a down year. I can coach them up. I can get them back to where they should be. And when he didn't, they said, bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about, Greg, on this one? I mean, we're kind of, we've talked, I think we've exhausted pretty much the tight end. We talked draft. We talked free agents. There's not many. And we talked the potential Kyle Pitts trade. As far as the tight end room, there's not much left there. Anything else we want to talk about? And same Brew Crew in the chat if you guys got anything you want to talk about or any Senior Bowl standouts or anything.
Yeah, obviously the Senior Bowl starter, Guy Parker was down there, he's scouting around. I mean, what they are like, and I saw you post clips here and there. Is there anybody in practice you're like, oh my God, this guy's looking good so far? I know it's too early. It's the first day of practice. But is there a player where you're like, holy crap, this guy is doing awesome, or someone that's caught your attention?
I mean, I haven't got to watch enough of it yet because, I was at work. So I'm just kind of catching clips and, here and there. So I can't say. I'm just trying to find as much as possible. I know some people are really talking about Deion Walker, and there's flashes where he'll walk somebody back. It's the same thing you see on tape. And then there's other flashes where he just gets completely stoned by a guy basically half his fucking size. He is still maddeningly frustrating because it's a guy that I thought could have been a top 10 draft pick, based off of last year. And he just didn't take the step that I thought he would. But 6'7", 340, you can't teach. Yeah.
But does that mean like I say, I have no idea. This is why I'm asking. Does that mean his work ethic could be in question, or what do you think? And what do you like? What are those?
It's just that when you're 6'7", your pad level's not going to be great play to play. It's hard to have consistent pad level when you're 6'7", and you're going up against guys on the interior of the offensive line that are 6'3", 6'2", 6'4", a lot of times, and they're just going to out leverage you a lot. But and you got to find ways to win besides just the bull rush. I mean, he's got some moves, but.
Right.
I don't know. It's just he leaves me always wanting more, and I think someone's going to overdraft him. I just hope it's not the Bengals at 17. I could be talked into him at 49, but I just think that somebody's going to talk themselves into this guy way earlier than that.
So say we took Grant at 7. We took Green at 17, and him at and let me ask you this. Okay, which set would you rather have? Green and Walker, rounds 1 and 2, or Grant? Who's another good pass rusher that could be there at 49 if you had to just throw one out there?
I mean, I'll say Ezerique right now, even though I think he's a first-round guy. He's consensus sports. He's 60, 70.
Okay.
So 49, he, should be there per the consensus. But
which set would you rather have?
That's a tough question, but I would probably say I would take Kenneth Grant and Ezerique just because I got a lot of faith in Kenneth Grant and I don't in Deion Walker. I like Mike Green 1-to-1 better than Ezerique, but I really like Ezerique and I like how long his arms are. I mean, he's got damn near 35-inch arms, even though he's 6'2". Wow. So he's kind of a freak show and 16 and a half sacks this year. So he produces also.
Wasn't Deion Walker the one that was on the freaks list?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys on that list. I'm sure he was
Was there?
6'7", 340. It's hard not to be on
Yeah.
there with that size alone. And Divine, he don't follow your rules, Greg. He said he's taking Mike Green and Omar Norman Lott.
Divine.
He says, give me all the elite pass rush in those
There you
first
go,
2
Divine.
rounds, and then we can take guard back to back in the 3rd and 4th. I don't even care because I just improve my pass rush tremendous.
Divine brought up an interesting point. A lot of Bengals fans, well, you know what? I want to ask you two guys this. Chase Young. A lot of people are excited. I mean, I'd be excited for him, but what's your guy? Would you guys want Chase Young? I mean, ignore the fact he was a Buckeye. He's been hurt a lot. I wouldn't be against having him here in Cincinnati, but what is your guys' take on Chase Young?
Give me a Buckeye.
As he wears his national
Are you on
championship
Team
shirt.
Chase Young?
He's not gonna take his Buckeye homerism out of this.
You probably wanted Chase Young over Burrow, didn't you?
Give me Jack Sawyer at 49, baby. Let's go.
He had a good pass rush win rate, even though he's very inconsistent too. It would have to be a cheap 1-year flyer, but I'm not opposed to it at that. At a 1-year cheap flyer, and it still doesn't mean you can't draft somebody, because I am of the philosophy that the reason that the Eagles are there, they send a drove, they just in waves, man, over and over pass rush and bodies at you. So the more guys, the better. So give me Chase Young, Trey Hendrickson, give me Ezerike along with those guys at edge. Give me a Norman Lott on the inside or a Walter Nolan, and hell, I'll sign Milt Williams while I'm at it. I can never have too many pass rushers.
Right.
That's the thing. Or bring back B.J. Hill at least, because at least he's mediocre, and that's better than what we got at pass rush otherwise.
Chase Young has a connection with Hodges, who was in New Orleans. Maybe he says, hey, I liked what I saw that 1 year he was with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say this. Because we're going to be putting up ridiculous points on offense, because we're going to get Burrow some guards, give me all the pass rush. There ain't a team that's going to be able to run against us right now going into next year.
Chase Young a year ago, he signed with the Niners. The Niners didn't need any pass rushing. We're like, look, we're putting our foot on the pedal on pass rushing. I mean, he was like their 3rd or 4th pass rusher, and that worked out okay. Well, they lost the Super Bowl, but that worked out okay for them.
I don't want to singularly focus on guard also, because you guys can move around, and they should on the offensive line. Versatility is good.
Mm-hmm.
And versatility, one guy, and don't just look at the school because he's much better in Volson. We talked about this guy yesterday, is Gray Zabel. Yeah. And he's taking snaps at center, guard. He played tackle. And in the draft guide, I wrote that. He actually took snaps at all 5 spots when he was at North Dakota State at different points in his career. So this is a guy with 5 position versatility. Most likely he's going to stick and stay with, I think, sub 33-inch arm length. He's going to stick and stay probably on the interior at guard or center. But apparently he's having a damn good Senior Bowl. And that's what you want to see when you're coming from North Dakota level of competition. That step down versus these stud guys that are here. And he's locking up some damn good pass rushers. So that's a guy. Maybe he's center in the future, but he's starting guard right away because you got Ted Karras. Maybe he just stays at guard. But, hey, there's a versatility. So Gray Zabel, if he's there at pick 49, that's a name to keep in mind. He might even go higher than that. But it's a guy I want to mention because, we don't talk about him that much. And another guy who's playing pretty good is Ariante Ursary. This guy, I think he sticks at tackle. Some people think he could slide into guard, but the man is like 6'6", 339. So a large human, a little bit of up and down season at Minnesota, but he's a damn good player. He's just a good player. And there's some clips here where he's locking down my guy Ezerike. So I give him some love for that because I know how much I like Ezerike. Silence.
I mean, the guard you were talking about, yeah, you said it. I think someone said he was one of the first people out in the field. I think Parker said that. What was his name again? Started with a G. What was his name?
Gray Zabel.
Yeah, Zabel.
Snaps at center. Was Wyatt Millam from West Virginia.
What college is Zabel from again?
North Dakota State.
Okay. Oh,
yeah, that's what I said. Don't get caught up in where he's. I said it yesterday. He's a much better prospect. Cordell Volson had a 6th-round grade on my board. This kid has already had a 2nd, 3rd round grade.
All right.
This guy is a much better prospect. But there's guys that come out of these schools that are still good. We can't hate because the Bengals just happened to take one that sucked.
No, I'm
Exactly.
a
And
the guy from
that's
William and
2 rounds early too.
the guy from William and Mary. Dude, if he's there 49, you may have to consider him.
Yeah, I
that's
wish he
like
was at the Senior Bowl, but he's not. Charles
Yeah.
Grant,
who's the boy that you're big on from Marshall?
Mike Green.
Mike Green. Yeah, it's the same thing you were saying about him too. Some of these guys you can't look at the school he's coming from. I saw some clips of him today, and I'm like, geez,
Yeah, and another big guy who's impressive, which he's always been a day 2 guy for me, is Anthony Belton from NC State. He came in at 345. He was listed at 354, so I think that's good that he, you don't want a guy that's too big, but, he's another guy that's like 6'6" or something like that. Big offensive tackle out of NC State. He's been impressive so far. And Clay Webb was brought up because he stoned Deion Walker pretty good. He's the guard out of Jacksonville State we mentioned yesterday. I got him a day 3 guy, but he's got talent. He was originally at Georgia before he transferred to Jacksonville State. So obviously he's a kid that's talented because we know Georgia recruits some damn good offensive linemen. So, but then there's another rep where Walter Nolan just speed to power one-on-one against Clay Webb and just shoves him 20 yards down the damn field because Walter Nolan is him. And I stand on that. Still love Walter Nolan. So if he's the pick at 17, I'll be excited. But I've seen a lot of people having him like 8th overall, 10th overall. I think it was our buddy Mike Renner had him 8th overall, wasn't it, Greg? I was checking out after the show.
Webb? Yeah.
No, Walter Nolan. I think Mike Renner had
that's
Walter
right.
Nolan.
Sorry.
8th.
Joe, you're really selling me on Walter Nolan, buddy.
What's your guys' thoughts on because all I'm seeing is just from the mock drafts and stuff. I haven't really got to dive into like mock drafts from actual pros, but just your thoughts on Xavier Watts moving up. I've seen him going like as early as like 33, 32. It looks like he's starting to move up a little bit.
When we did our mock draft Friday, we got Watts the second round. As happy as I was, that's going to mean that interior defensive lineman you want, that defensive end or that guard you want, you're going to have to take in a later round. And nothing against Watts. I mean, I'm not against adding enough safety help, especially the potential he has and him knowing Al Golden. But like I say, the problem is if you can take like one of those positions, it's not highly of a need. That means one of your neediest positions you're going to have to take maybe in the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah, possibly double up on them.
I would like Watts at 49. No issue with it. My problem is him going at 17, and Chop says he's going at 17 now because of the Al Golden connection. And he was praising him. And his ability to communicate. We know how much Lou loved that with Bates and Bell. And, Al Golden might think that's my captain of my defense, and I want to have him be captain of my defense now in the NFL. And give me a seamless transition here along with him.
Now, Dale, say if you traded down to 27 or 28 and took Watts, so you got your 3rd and 5th round. That I will not complain about.
No, and I mentioned that the other day because he's 35th on my board right now. So taking him in the mid to late 20s, I'm not going to have a huge issue with it. It's taking him at 17, I think, would just be a tad too early. And I don't think that somebody else is just going to snatch him up if you trade down to 25 or so.
One more thing about Watts. Did all of his teammates come to his birthday party?
Probably.
Good. Just making sure.
And so it is justifiable that I'm starting to see him move up in drafts then.
Yeah, and I mean, I think pick 49, he may not be there. Like, I know it's like, well, he's there a lot when I do a mock draft. Okay, good for you. It doesn't mean that won't change between now and then. A lot of guys are a lot of places, but then as it gets closer, you start seeing it, start to even out. Where
like it was what was that? The guy last year we was always picking in the 2nd round, and then
Sweat?
he ended up going, Sweat. Yeah.
Well, then he got that DUI, and we thought, he might be there in the 3rd. And no, you didn't even have a chance at him with your 2nd round pick. He was gone.
Yeah.
And teams clearly would have taken that man because he was high 2nd round. Teams would have taken probably in the late 1st had it not been for that DUI.
Yeah. And then even another one, Jahmyr Gibbs, a couple years ago. We were always talking about being able to pick him late in the 1st round or early 2nd, I think, right?
Yeah, well, first
then-
round, we were like, well, we'd have to take him with our pick in the first, and he goes 12th. We're
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
well, never mind. Well, didn't even get close.
Yeah, you
But
never
yeah.
know this early in the draft process, but
No, you don't.
what I'm really excited to see is, like you said, like everything with the Shrine Bowl, everything with the Senior Bowl, and then getting to see these guys test out in Indianapolis. That's when it starts to get really exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. These practices, I can't wait to dive in. I'll probably try to go and go back and watch as much of that as I can from today, and then they practice again the next 2 days as well for the Senior Bowl. So it should be good to watch. Then they don't practice on Friday, but we'll have Parker Blake on here with us on Friday, who is at the Senior Bowl, and give his thoughts on who stood out to him. And then the game is on Saturday. There's also the Shrine Bowl game is on Thursday, so those practices are wrapping up. There'll be some players from there to watch too.
Hey, Dale, what is the biggest difference between the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl?
Senior Bowl typically gets more people. Like Deion sent all the Colorado guys there, even though Shador didn't play. I think they're trying to make it bigger, but the Senior Bowl has been the top dog, and it definitely has more of the top talent.
Right. That's
by
what
far.
Yeah, okay.
So if you're going to watch one, and you're going to watch the practices from one and take anything from one, it's definitely the Senior Bowl.
There you go.
And a ton of those guys get drafted. And Jim Nagy's up for like GM potential jobs, and he's the guy who puts together the rosters and all that stuff that runs the Senior Bowl.
Plus, you got Reese's with the Senior Bowl. That's what also gets my attention.
There you go. You go eat you some Reese's and watch some Senior Bowl
There
practice.
you go.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, guys, we're about an hour in on this pop-up show on a Tuesday. Wanted to talk some tight ends with the Erick All news that he's expected to miss most of the season. So it's a good, fun show. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. We will continue to talk more Senior Bowl and everything. If we're not back before then definitely by Friday when we have our guest, Parker Blake, on live from Mobile, Alabama. And then Pork Chop just gets on right when we're ending.
I just got home.
So should I keep this going, Chop?
No, I just wanted to say hi, let everybody know I'm still alive.
Chop's still alive. Gallbladder removed.
I did lose a little more weight. Industries, you're right. My
Taking the
weight loss methods are becoming a little bit more, evasive, because now I'm just getting parts removed. But the good news is that there's a little kid whose life is saved somewhere in the Netherlands because he now has my gallbladder. That's actually a lie.
Hell yeah.
Gallbladder was fucked.
Yeah,
my gallbladder was fucked. It was 24 hours of intense pain, and I couldn't wait for that surgery. It was like when you're a kid waiting to ride the beast. I was in line like, come on, just get me in there and get that bitch out. It was so bad, but I'm good. I appreciate everybody's social media's thoughts and prayers and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And go to the chop shop and help Pork Chop pay for his
because
surgery.
I got a big medical bill now. Now I got a big medical bill, so go buy some shit.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you're glad to be home too.
Oh, dude, I cannot sleep. And, for the night before I went to the hospital, I couldn't sleep because it was just so much pain. And I knew I should have went to the hospital right away instead of riding it out. But then I get up there and I can't sleep. And they're giving me sleep medicine, painkillers, all this shit. And I just can't sleep in the beds. And so I'm just glad to be home in my comfort zone. Even if I can't, because I normally sleep on my stomach, and now it's sore from all that shit they did in there. But I'm just happy this fucking room is a wreck because I left it just as it was. But I'm just so happy to be home and not in the hospital. So,
well, we're happy you're home.
I am not happy to see the news about Erick All. I know I'm rotating back to the beginning of the thing, but I saw some of the comments where this guy was going to be a badass, and he was. I mean, they're still going to run him in 2025. 26, I guess. You know why? He's on a rookie contract. Are they going to release him?
No.
Yeah.
So you just hope he's back and healthy,
But I put in them comments, man. If for some reason Atlanta wants to take a second or a third for Kyle Pitts, do it. That's our
so you're
fucking tight
going
end
up
one
even
for
higher
years.
then.
Yeah. We ain't doing all that, Chop. His rookie contract's about to run out, so you wouldn't even have him under contract after a year. So we're giving him a 5th or 6th, Chop. We already decided. Stop trying to make us
5th or
give away
6th. I'm not dead, man. I mean, if I lose my gallbladder, I go a little bit fucking crazy over here.
Yeah, that's bad negotiating. We're offering a 5th or 6th, and Chop's like, I would do a 2nd or 3rd. No, we're not negotiating against ourselves. 5th or 6th, that's all you get, Atlanta.
5th or 6th. Listen, Atlanta, you'll be lucky if we take his ass off your hands so you can save some of that cap money.
That's right.
Maybe they should give us a 5th or 6th round pick along
Even
with
better.
Kyle Pitts.
Even
Maybe a 1st round just so they can save the money.
We'll re-sign Jackson Carman just to trade him to them for Kyle Pitts.
Hell yeah, dude. You add that in the deal. Fuck. Come on.
Do they want Alex Kappa?
They'll give us Bijan too. If
Sam
you throw
Hubbard?
Carmen in there,
Sheldon
we'll get
Rankins?
Bijan.
They can have him. If they
Yeah.
want Sheldon Rankin, Sam Hubbard, Alex Kappa,
Who they want. Let's go.
we'll trade any of those guys.
Yeah. Fuck it.
For Kyle Pitts. Straight
We'll
up.
even throw in some Ohio weather while we're at it.
Yeah. But today's not bad. I missed the good weather.
No, I took my
Hospital.
jacket off.
I can tell. I saw your fucking fancy ass Bengals tattoo. You're showing it off while you're driving.
Along with
Oh, no, I was showing this off.
Shirt.
Oh, were
Yeah.
you?
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Where's your Buckeyes tattoo? You love him so much.
It's coming next week.
Next week.
Give him an
I
excuse
get my
to get
appointment
another
next week.
See, I wear my LSU glasses every day. See the yellow?
You know,
Yeah.
I was saving this spot right here for a
For my face.
Lombardi, for a
Oh.
Lombardi ring, or for a Super Bowl ring, but I might just have to put the national championship.
You might have
'Cause
to,
at least
man.
I know we got that one.
I was, I know you guys did shows last 2 days, but I just want to say, like, when I watch these interviews with Al Golden, it makes me like him even more. I feel this guy feels like a head coach to me when I hear him speak, doesn't he? Does it feel the same to you?
Yeah.
I mean,
He sounds
Dude
like a
knows his
head
shit.
coach. And he looks like a silent, mean, badass guy, right?
we are big Golden Peters fans here.
Yep. We love our editions of Golden Peters.
I have no issue with gold, nor do I have an issue with Peters.
He loves Peters.
I love gold. I love Peters. I love gold Peters.
Yeah, LSU, another LSU game.
Go
in there.
Tigers. That's right, Em.
Suck that tiger dick, bitch.
Suck that tiger dick, bitch.
Chop's
That
favorite
shirt
line.
is available in the shop. It says,
Yeah.
suck that tiger dick, bitch. That's a chant they do at Death Valley called neck.
Yes, it's true.
I think that we should do it at Paycor. What if everybody else sucked that tiger dick, bitch? 65,000 people. That'd be so great.
There you go. Get it going, Chop.
Yeah, buddy.
Believe me, I've yelled it from my seat. They can't hear it from the 300.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in. Glad you got to see Chop's beautiful face before we ended this. He was just in the nick of time to let you have something to J-O to.
Eli.
Mm-hmm.
All right, boys.